everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline, and as always, I got a great show for you planned out today. My guest tonight is Cherise Williams. She is an author. She's a paranormal investigator. She's also a producer for Haunted Documentaries, a new program that's going to be coming out. Before we get to her, though, I do have some announcements. My friends over at Wicked Cat Clothing, spooky season doesn't last just a month. Shop Wicked Cat Clothing year-round to get your horror, paranormal, spooky, and Halloween apparel. Go to wickedcatclothing.com. Shop apparel and accessories now and save 30% off with the code FIRESIDE30. We're also trying out this new partnership with Newsly. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It'll find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. They also have podcasts, so explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. My show, Fireside Paranormal Podcast, is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code FIRESIDE, where the eyes are ones. I'll also put that in the description, and you receive 1 month free premium subscriptions. I also want to give a shout out for American Paranormal Magazine. If you haven't subscribed to that magazine yet, definitely check it out. ParanormalZine.com. They also opened up voting for Paranormal Investigator of the Year. They do authors, podcasts, things like that. So I would really appreciate it if y'all threw my name in the hat. If you go to ParanormalZine.com, and I think it's scrolled to the bottom of the page, it's talking about the voting. But if you find it in your heart to hook a fella up like me, I sure would appreciate it. All right, getting into this week's featured story. It's coming in from Bunny, all the way from Colorado.
Hi, my name is Bunny from Colorado. I took a trip up north and wanted to stop at some of the scary haunted attractions on the way. And one of those was the Weston Insane Asylum. So I'm from nowhere around here and was just like, why not? And a child. That's important.
You were a child at the time?
I was like 7.
Okay.
So we do that overnight ghost tour, and they try to freak us out with every instance. So back in the day, the top floor of this was for the alcoholics and the people that were addicted to substances. I get up there in a room, instantly get sick, and the tour guide is like, oh, let's do a little communication session.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I didn't know better. So she gives me the dowsing rods and is like, just stand here since you're the one that feels sick. I'll ask all the questions. Just hold them. So she's like, are you a doctor? No. Were you a patient? No. Have I talked to you before? No. And she goes, well, I'm really glad I got to meet you. Can you point both of the rods to where you are in this room? And they point right beside me. I find out later that I had an aunt that was a patient.
No.
Yes, in the insane asylum for alcoholism.
Oh my God.
On my dad's side. Was that her? Maybe. I don't know.
There's a connection.
And it was so scary. I don't go to that floor when I go back anymore.
Thank you so much, Bunny, for your story. If anybody out there has a story that they want to send in to be one of our featured stories, make sure you email me at firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll definitely put it in the show. All right, I want to get to our guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome Cherise Williams. She is an author. She is an investigator. She's also a producer for Haunted Documentaries. Cherise, you with us?
Hi. Hello.
Hello, hello. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You got a lot going on.
I do. A lot of good things.
Now, tell me about, well, first, I definitely want to get into your books, but Haunted Documentaries, what is that?
So Haunted Documentaries is something that recently just got started with my friend Marlon. He's a film guy, director out in LA, and we put together Haunted Documentaries. We do haunted documentaries. We go
the
to
name is
locations.
Spot on, let me tell you.
Yeah. And, do investigations, and he puts it all together. We're waiting for our first documentary. We did Indiana State Sanatorium, so we're waiting
Nice.
for that to be picked up by a streaming service. I don't know which one it will be yet. He's the one that handles all of that. And then we also just started our YouTube channel. So we're going to be putting like little smaller investigations and all kinds of fun paranormal stuff over on the YouTube channel.
Okay, so like streaming, are you talking like YouTube or are you talking like Netflix? I know you don't know the...
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it'll be something like Tubi or Amazon Prime or
Nice.
Plex or something like that. Yeah.
Now, are they going to change the title or title set in stone, Haunted Documentaries?
Well, so we're called Haunted Documentaries, and that's what the YouTube channel is as well. And then each of the films will be haunted, and then whatever the location is. So the first film will be Haunted Indiana State Sanatorium. And then I can also announce our second one, which will be, he's currently editing it right now, and it's Haunted Mcintyre Villa. So we're excited about it. Hopefully
now, where's that one at?
Launched out to the world. Mcintyre Villa is in Kansas. Have you heard of the Sally House? Pretty famous house. I feel like a lot of people know
I have
about.
Not.
Really?
I know.
Well,
I'm
that is a creepy little house.
For somebody who's as into the paranormal as I am, you'd be surprised on how 4 kids really ruins your ability to know where things are.
Well, you know, I mean, there's so many locations too, like, which is pretty awesome. So I don't blame you. I mean, I don't know every location either. Some people will ask me, and I'm like, I've never heard of that. Well, there's a town in Kansas called Atchison, Kansas, and the Sally House is located there. It's just this really small family home. I've not investigated there. I did drive past it and take a picture. But we investigated the Mcintyre Villa, and it's a huge Victorian home. 10 documented deaths within the home. It was also a boarding house for a while, and that history is kind of a little iffy. Like, a lot wasn't reported during that time.
Wow.
So they say 10 documented deaths, and then you know, psychics and stuff that have gone there. And I did a tarot reading while I was there, and was kind of picking up on some other things that might have happened probably while it was a boarding house. So it's a really amazing
So is that
location.
like it's a pretty active location, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty active. It's pretty I can't really give much away other than when we were there, we got a little more than just a normal traditional haunting. It got pretty weird while we were there, and that's really all I can say, because I don't want to ruin the film.
Now this one is not going to be on YouTube, right? This one's going for the big time one.
Yeah, this will also be on streaming. On the YouTube channel though, and on our social media, we put little like teaser clips and things like that for each of the films. And then, like I said, as well as like little mini investigations and things. We're actually filming this week, and we're making sure to stop at a couple little smaller haunted locations, like a couple haunted cemeteries in the area. And so those will be going up on YouTube as well.
Very cool. How long have you been an investigator?
I first started investigating around 16 years ago. And I did it for a few years, and then I kind of stopped. You mentioned kids. Kids happened, marriage happened, all of that. So, but I've been back actively investigating for the last few years. Sometimes I go with groups of people, but I'm pretty much a solo investigator.
Okay, now how does that? Because I've only ever done, with a group. I've only ever done the investigations with other people. I've never done it by myself. Maybe I'm not as courageous as I'd like to think I am. That that could be it. But what's it like going out on your own and doing this?
Well, okay. So, I mean, I do investigate by myself. Usually I really love abandoned places and stuff. And I live in Ohio, and I say we have pretty much Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati as cities, and then everything else is kind of like farmland.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to go explore a lot of like abandoned farmhouses and cemeteries and things like that. So I'll do some investigating there. And that's usually during the day, because obviously I'm not, well, I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but I'm not exploring abandoned places at night by myself.
Yeah, so you're not as courageous as you think you are either.
I mean, I am courageous, but I'm also smart. I'm not going to go into some random dilapidated building in the middle of nowhere all by myself at nighttime. But yeah, mostly solo. I meant as like I'm not part of a group or anything like that. I'll go investigate with other friends who are not part of a group, or meet up with other weirdos from the internet.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Now, where is your favorite place that you've been? If you were going to pick an absolute favorite location that you've ever investigated, where would you say it was?
Indiana State Sanatorium, for sure. Definitely.
Why?
I've been there. I've investigated there 5 nights now, I think, 5 different times.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. Yeah. That's why actually Marlon, the director that I work with, he had initially reached out to me because he wanted me to come out to California. He wanted to film a documentary on haunted riverboat out there, and that ended up falling through. And he was like, well, I already have, I was set to film something. He's like, do you know of anything? I'm like, yes, Indiana State Sanatorium. We need to film there. And so he flew out to Indiana from California, and I met him there, and we filmed the documentary, and we just really clicked. And he's like, this is great. Let's keep doing this. I'm like, heck yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, being in West Virginia, I don't know much about Indiana. So what all goes on at that place? What kind of haunts are there? What kind of experiences have people had? Things like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I don't want to give away too much because people are going to have to watch Haunted Indiana State Sanatorium whenever
and they
it's
will
streaming.
watch it.
Yes. But this place literally has everything. It just opened for investigations in 2021, so a little over a year ago.
It's a new place.
They opened. Yeah. It was initially a tuberculosis hospital. Only one of those original buildings is still standing. But then there's also on the property a 5-story mental health facility and a nursing home as well. So this place, it's literally, it's 3 different types of health facilities on one property. And yeah, luckily the first time I got to go, I was one of the first people to get to go and investigate it. So that was pretty awesome.
That's cool.
As an investigator, we go to places where so many people investigate and everything. So this was really awesome to get to go somewhere so massive and be among some of the first. And this place, it has everything. It has full-bodied apparitions, shadow figures, disembodied voices, EVPs like crazy. Yeah, growling, even some poltergeist activity. There's everything here, and it is amazing.
When you're doing these investigations, what kind of equipment do you bring? I've had so many different investigators on here, and it feels like they each have their own go-to device or their certain way of doing things. What do you like to do on investigations?
I really just like audio, and really it's more filming. I don't usually do a ton of EVPs. I do more video.
Okay.
Because I find I capture EVPs just doing video as well, and I think it's kind of a good thing to be filming and doing recording, for audio. So yeah, just kind of filming oftentimes with my phone, and then tarot cards is what I love, and then my own intuition. Yeah, I don't like to get. I love equipment, love it. I also really like just simple stuff like motion lights. I think motion lights are great. But
okay.
I don't like to get too bogged down with too much equipment because I feel like so many times I've gone on investigations with other investigators. And like you said, everybody kind of has their own way they like to do things. And so often I'm kind of just sitting back, listening to the building, to my surroundings, kind of trying to tap into my intuition. And I'll hear footsteps or something. And I'm asking people did you hear that? And they're like, no, because they were busy messing with their equipment. So I think that too much equipment can be distracting.
You almost lose
kind of
that raw,
yeah,
part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I've noticed on bigger investigations, we have the pin here. Spoiler, I did learn that you're from this area. We talked about it before. You have
family is, yeah. I'm born and raised in Ohio, but yeah, my grandpa's side of the family, Wheeling and West Virginia, is for sure in my blood.
Yeah, so you're one of us by blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the
Definitely.
penitentiary, I've had big events there, and I know everybody likes their gadgets, and I'm not going to hate on any one type of gadget, but spirit boxes and ghost boxes, when you're in a big area like that where sound carries, that's a tough
Mhm.
device to try to really feel the room, right?
Mhm.
Have you had much
Yeah.
experience with those?
I actually really do like spirit boxes. For the Estes Method. Have you heard of that?
Say it one more time.
The Estes Method, where people call it different things, but it originally was the Estes Method. The people who created it called it that. But it's where you listen to the spirit box listening to headphones, and you have a blindfold on.
Okay.
And so if you're listening to the headphone, you're kind of saying the words or the phrases that you think you're hearing, while the people that you're with are asking the questions. And I think that works really well because it helps kind of remove any bias from you kind of like wanting to hear an answer. Because if you can't hear the questions being asked, you can't really make up an answer,
I was getting ready to ask that.
And I've had, that works really, really, really well. And I don't know what it is. I have such a hard time when I'm listening to the spirit box without headphones. It's really hard for me to like hear words, but once I put the headphones on and kind of like tune out the rest of the environment around me, it's much more easy for me to pick up on words and phrases.
That's tough. See, I have a lot of guests that I've had on the show that are really big into ITC research and really big into the spirit boxes. Some that have built spirit boxes. I can't hear it. I just can't. Like I've tried and I want to. It creeps me out. Like listen to it, just letting it go, and I'm like, oh man, this is straight out of a scary movie. But like
it is. Some of them too sound like they have the echo and like the reverb, and it sounds so creepy.
And I'm like, all right, like I'm hearing that. But as far as like hearing the voices and stuff like, they're like, did you catch that? I'm like, I'm too creeped out to listen right now. Like I don't know if it's my own personal bias or what with that. But I couldn't imagine being in like a big, a large place like that place, a reformatory, like a psych hospital, by yourself kind of blindfolded and headphones and in a corner just listening to that box and not being the slightest spooked.
I mean, it definitely gets creepy. And what's even more weird, too, when you do have those headphones on, I mean, because it's a type of sensory deprivation in a way.
Oh,
you have
definitely.
the blindfold on, you can't see, you're really kind of just really tuning into that sound, and it's almost like hypnotic, the sound that you're hearing over and over. So you do kind of get in a little bit of a trance. And it's interesting when you're doing that because sometimes you'll like see, an image in your mind or something like that. It seems to really kind of kick up your intuition. And then it's extra creepy when you're sitting there and like you feel like there's somebody next to you, but you're in the session, so you can't really take off the blindfolds. And it can get creepy for sure.
Yeah, if I got to the point where I thought I felt somebody sitting next to me, I wouldn't be keeping no blindfold on, for sure.
Yeah.
For those of you that are listening,
a couple of times where I've ripped it off and I'm like I'm done.
Oh,
like,
100%.
I'm getting too creeped out, but most of the time I do try to kind of push myself because I'm like, I don't know, maybe the spirit will touch me, or I don't know, I don't want to scare them away, so I kind of push myself sometimes.
For those of you listening, you think, man, Jordan, you've been doing the paranormal for so long and you've been hosting these shows for, ever, but, aren't you not afraid of anything? I'm like the biggest chicken there is. Like,
I love it.
Like, I really, if something's going on, like if it's nothing, if it's just like a big empty house, I'm fine. You know what I mean? But if I'm like feeling like something's there, I let my dog out last night. Listen to this. My wife don't even know this one. So I let my dog out last night. It was like 11:30, and like I don't know if it was one of the cats or something, just made a noise kind of. I live in the woods up on top of a mountain, and it just had this little noise, and I was like, nope, not today, and I locked my door and like just turned off all my lights and went in the bedroom. I was like, nope, not feeling it right now.
See, but wait, were you freaked out? Because I get more freaked out. Everybody's like, I don't know how you can go to these buildings and and you're not scared of these ghosts. And I'm like, honestly, when I'm in some of these buildings and places, ghosts are the last thing on my mind. Like, I'm worried about coming face to face with some rabid animal or some crazy living human than I am a ghost. So yeah, I mean, I feel you. If I was out in the woods on top of the mountain and I heard some sound outside, I would probably inside.
You
lock
never
my
know.
door
And
as
then you
well,
get all
so.
these stories. Like I had a show and I was sitting here, like I record, I don't know if you could hear the wind chimes. It's been storming off and on all day today. So, the wind's starting to pick up a little bit. So you might hear my wind chimes, but I'm out here on my porch, right? And I just see treetops and all that. Like I'm in a mountain. And we did a show about, like Wendigo and things like that. And they're like, oh yeah, they're up in here. You hear sounds in the woods and you hear this. And goodness gracious, there was one night and I was out here and we were chatting. It was like after we went off the air and we talked for like another hour about this stuff, off the air. And there were coyotes up in the hill. Well, if you've never heard a pack of coyotes, it sounds pretty wild. But after hearing all, like talking what we were talking about, I was like, not today, demons.
Oh yeah. There's some wild stuff out in the woods. I remember my grandpa. I unfortunately lost him in November, but
Sorry.
he was. Thank you. He was telling me how he lived in a house and it backed up against the woods, and he was told he was not allowed up in the woods, up in the hills. And I'm like, well, why? He didn't want to talk about it. And so of course then I'm thinking like, oh my God, like crazy creatures out there, wasn't it? So yeah, there's some weird stuff out in the woods in West Virginia.
There's a lot of stories about things in these woods, in the West Virginia woods. And, yeah, don't talk about them. Don't look at them. If you think you see them, you don't, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't
they
go out
call
and
your
play.
name. No, they didn't.
Yeah,
Keep
right?
walking.
Keep on walking. A little faster.
Yeah. Yeah, walk a little faster, but just keep walking.
Yeah. And it was the same time we were doing this. Like, I'm a hunter too. So like, yeah, I got some land to hunt on here. So like, I was going out the next morning to hunt. I was like, I don't know if I want to go and like all dark by myself and with a flashlight just up in the woods. Not,
Yeah.
I might miss it this week.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
All right. So I digress. I guess, chased a little rabbit there. Let's talk about your books. You are an author. You do all kinds of fun stuff. So let's get into your books.
So I just recently published a book with Beyond the Fray Publishing, and it is called The Witch's Guide to Ghost Hunting. And it combines, kind of traditional ghost hunting with more spiritual techniques and witchcraft stuff, like tarot cards and sigils and magical oils and things like that. That's personally how I investigate and approach the paranormal and the supernatural. And so I thought I need to write a book because I hadn't really seen any books really merging these two. I've read ghost hunting books that kind of touch a little bit on, how to protect your aura or something, or witchcraft books that talk a little bit about dealing with ghosts, but not one book that kind of combined both of them. So I wrote the book combining both of them. I think it's a great book, personally.
I think it's a #1 bestseller, huh? No. Go buy it.
It was actually for a moment when it first released. It was on the #1 new release for a while, and then for a moment it was a bestseller.
Come on.
Wow, it's pretty
I don't know if
awesome.
you can hear me clapping on the microphone, but now with the book, like you're doing the tarot cards and stuff like that, how does that tie in to like the ghost hunting? Because isn't that like, forgive my naivety, whatever that word is. Live in West Virginia, y'all. I don't know big words. What isn't that like fortune telling, like telling the future kind of thing? What does that have? How does that tie in?
Yeah. So tarot cards are. I mean, you can. How can I word this? They're a way to tap into different energies. And you can tap into energies of the past, you can tap into current energies, and you can also tap into future energies. I don't personally read a lot with like what's going to happen in 6 months. I can, and I have, but I like to use the cards more to just help give a better understanding of a situation or a person. So I also do readings for people, humans, living people. And a lot of the time it's just kind of helping them to make a decision or bring some clarity to a situation or even some confirmation for them. And for tarot reading, I mean, I guess let me back up. When I'm doing readings for people, I don't always do them face to face. That's kind of a misconception that you have to do readings face to face. Energy is energy. I mean, it doesn't know the physical bounds that we have in our physical bodies. So I've done readings for people literally on the other side of the world. And so if I can do readings for a living person on the other side of the world, then why can't I do a reading for a spirit that could potentially be sitting right next to me? So it's really just about kind of reading the energies, and you can use tarot cards to get a better understanding of physical land, like the property of the building. I've done readings to kind of gain a little more insight into the history of a building, and then as well as the spirits. And I really like it because a lot of the time you can get more information than you might be able to by asking, yes or no questions with a K2 meter or something like that. I do like to use, like when I'm doing my tarot cards, I do usually have a digital voice recorder going to see if I get any EVPs or even a spirit box running, as well as something like, a flux meter or a K2 meter or something as well. I like to combine them.
Now, have you had much
it's
luck with
by far
that?
my favorite way to investigate. I'm sorry?
Have you had much luck with that? Like, do you get, voices while you're doing that, or do you get, K2 responses?
So yeah, sometimes the devices will be going off as I'm doing the reading. It is interesting having the spirit box run while I'm doing the reading. So for instance, I was investigating with a couple people and they were kind of more focused on the spirit box while I was doing the reading. And, I'm pulling the cards and I'm thinking about it in my head. I wasn't talking out loud, but as I'm kind of thinking about, what does this card mean? How does it relate to the situation? The spirit box was saying words that related to what I was reading the cards about. So basically the cards I was pulling, I was trying to connect to the spirits it was at Indiana State Sanatorium. And I was getting that the spirits just really wanted to be remembered. They wanted to know that they were still loved and cared about. And those kinds of words were coming through the spirit box, like alone, sad,
wow,
things like that. So it was really a pretty cool confirmation of, in the moment of my reading.
Yeah, it to me it kind of feels like when you're doing these investigations, like you're trying to have like that raw experience, like you're really in the moment and feeling, kind of what's around you. That's really neat. Do you feel like when you're doing like the cards or something like that, do you feel like that you get more energy, like that you get more responses than without?
I think so. And I think a couple things happen. Sometimes I have had times where spirits, I don't think that they like what I'm doing. One time actually witch came through on the spirit box and it came through very angrily. Yeah, it was like witch. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like they are not happy right now.
That guy's not my
other
friend.
Other times activity. Huh?
Like that guy's not my friend. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was like maybe, and I mean, I'm all about, I set healthy boundaries with spirits as need be, but I'm also very much about respect. And so if I think that anything I'm doing is making a spirit uncomfortable, I'll stop doing it, whether it's tarot cards or even some spirits really just don't even want you to ask them any questions. And so I'll stop asking questions. Other times the activity will just stop. Like we'll have been getting responses on the K2 or something like that. And then I pull out my tarot cards and then everything just stops. And I kind of take that as like them being like, whoa, I'm not participating in this. But really? A lot of the time, yeah, it does kind of help to stir up the energy. And I think it's because, I'm by far not the only person to bring tarot cards on an investigation, but it is much more rare to pull out your tarot cards than it is to pull out the spirit box or something. And so I think sometimes the spirits are like, oh, wait, what are you doing? Like, how can we communicate this way? And it kind of intrigues them a little bit.
You also mentioned oils. Can you talk about those? Like, what do you mean you have like oils?
Yeah. So just kind of blessed oils that you can make yourself. And one thing I always tell people with my book, it's called The Witch's Guide to Ghost Hunting. Even if you have no interest in becoming a witch, there's actual like practical things that you can use in here. Like I do talk about some ways to protect your energy, different ways to cleanse your energy. And just because you utilize these things doesn't automatically make you a witch. but yeah, there's blessed oils that you can make with, herbs or essential oils that can do all kinds of stuff. Like in the book, I have an oil to help protect yourself. So sometimes I'll put it on, like if I'm just getting a weird feeling before I even go on an investigation, I'll make sure to put the protection oil on myself.
Okay.
Or if while I'm investigating, there's been times where it just does not feel good, does not feel right, and I'm like, I really need some extra protection, so I'll take the oil out, and I usually put it on the back of my neck, and that is good. There's an oil for to increase your psychic senses, so I usually like to apply that to my third eye, and it just kind of helps to get you more in tune with the energies around you.
So we're not like, hey, put on like peppermint oil and you'll have ghost guard, nothing like that. Like these are different mixes, things that you put together.
Correct. So these oils, I mean, there's a little more to it than that.
Okay.
But it's, I mean, yeah, you can use peppermint oil. Peppermint oil is great for if you are wanting to do your clairaudience, which is clear hearing. So if you want to maybe hear those EVPs or disembodied voices, peppermint's pretty good for that. A lot of witchcraft and energy work is intention based as well. So if you do want to pull out that bottle of peppermint oil and you're applying it to yourself, apply it with intention, the intention that it's going to do X, Y, Z. And that's kind of when you're making the blessed oils. I have the recipes in here. You're doing it with intention. When you're adding, the dried rosemary to the oil, you're doing it with the intention that rosemary is going to protect you.
Very cool. That's neat, and that's something that I'd never kind of heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Which everybody's got their things. Everybody investigates different ways. That's just one way that I wasn't unaware. Doing the oils.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yep.
Let's see. Do you ever do like readings and things like that, like in haunted locations? Does it kind of work better for you, or like doing readings for people?
What's the question? Like, do I do readings for like investigators that I'm with while investigating?
Okay, maybe I'll word it this way.
Or,
like, if you're at like a haunted location, and I know you do the readings like to get more of a feel for the room, but if you were to do like a reading for, I don't know, let's say another investigator, just for the sake of, hey, there's Bill, let's do one for Bill.
Yeah.
Like, are you more attuned? Is it more heightened awareness, sensitivity kind of deal? Like, is it better in that situation than without? Do you feel like that's more of a lightning rod?
Well, I haven't done just like a general reading for somebody in a haunted location. Readings that I have done, so spoiler, you will see this in haunted Indiana State Sanatorium. We do isolations. So, one person will go off and sit for an extended period of time by themselves. And so while the other two investigators were doing that, I was pulling cards to kind of read to see like what kind of experience are they having, what kind of energy might they be encountering. So I've done readings like that for other investigators, like,
okay.
What are they experiencing? But as far as just like sitting down and being like, so what career should you go for? Like, I haven't done that kind of reading at a haunted place.
Two things are coming through. One person's going to be staying in the exact same month or place for the next 6 months, and the other person's going to get a lot of money. Let's see, which one's which?
Exactly.
Bad joke. Now, do you have any other books in the works? Is there anything else kind of you're floating the ideas around on?
I do, and actually, if your listeners could help me out with one of them, that would be awesome. So one of the books that I am working on is about liminal spaces and the hauntings that occur there. So, I'm going to be covering like haunted bridges, even like tree lines and stuff. Of course, haunted roads, crossroads, things like that. I also, in this book, kind of dive into the psychology of liminal spaces. I also interviewed an anthropologist and a shaman to kind of get different perspectives on, why are liminal spaces so haunted? Why do people feel weird in liminal spaces? That kind of thing.
That's neat.
And then, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. And then the other book is about haunted mirrors. And again, I interviewed a shaman, a psychologist, to kind of, and I'm going to cover the history of mirrors, but just all the different weirdness involved with mirrors. But with that one, I'm wanting to include people's personal stories. I have a few personal stories that, involve hauntings in a mirror. I'm also going to be going to a museum in West Virginia to interview the museum owner about a couple haunted mirrors that he has in his collection. But I would love people to email me any paranormal stories that they have involving a mirror, and then I might include it in the book. And if people want to stay anonymous, that's fine. But yeah, that would be helpful.
What I gotta ask, what museum in West Virginia you going to?
The Archive of the Afterlife.
My buddy Steve.
Oh, you know?
I know Steve Hummel. He's been on the show, and I've actually had him. He's done featured stories for us too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've never met him. We have just talked through email, but I'll be going in July to interview him about the mirrors, and then also doing a little investigation there as well. So I'm excited about that.
Great guy. You'll have to let me know how that goes, the investigation and all that. We'll have you pop back in for a little update. That'll be fun. I want to ask you some questions, if I can pick your brain a little bit about the mirrors.
Yeah.
Right, because I've heard, people say, and I've always had a mirror in my bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be on the closet door or part of the dresser, but I've heard people say you shouldn't have a mirror in your bedroom, or you got to cover them. Like, is that like a thing?
It can be, yeah. I'm actually also going to be interviewing a folklorist, because the weirdness with mirrors and kind of covering mirrors, and it kind of goes all around the world, which is really interesting. So I'm looking forward to interviewing her and getting like a professional's perspective on that, of what's going on with that. But yeah, that's totally a thing. Or that mirrors should not be facing each other. Like, I actually have 3 mirrors in my bedroom. One of them is covered because it faces my bed, and so I pretty much always have it covered. And then the other 2 mirrors, I just make sure that they're not facing each other. But I think it's okay to have mirrors in your room, but I also lock my mirrors, they call it, or sealing your mirrors, which is essentially I just put like protective symbols on the 4 corners of any mirrors in my house, and that kind of keeps any energies in the mirror and not seeping into my house.
Now I have more questions.
I have more answers. Maybe.
Okay, so the first one was going to be, how do you have three mirrors in your room that don't see each other? So you cover one of them. So you kind of answered that one. But why do you cover it? Because it looks at your bed.
Just because that one, like I have a mirror on a vanity. I'm not always in front of that one. But the mirror facing my bed, even though I have it, I seal it with the protective symbols and everything, it's still just, I'm laying in my bed, for 7-8 hours at a time. And when you're asleep too, you're in a vulnerable state. And so I don't know, I just don't want anything being able to look in and see me in this vulnerable state, or I don't know. So I cover that one.
Because there's always some kind of truth to every folklore and things like that, right? So
exactly, yeah.
What is it? Would it be like a spirit that's trapped like in the mirror, or is the mirror a portal to your bedroom?
I think it could kind of be both. I've heard stories of both, of that. Yeah, they act as kind of like portals, or at least windows. And that's kind of how I feel. That's why I cover the one by my bed, because I feel like it can kind of act as a window into my room, and I don't need people looking at me. But yeah, or it could be, spirits can travel between the mirrors, or they do kind of act as these like doorways from whatever world is beyond the mirrors. I don't know. Mirrors are so creepy. They're so interesting.
The world from beyond the mirrors.
So
that's what you should call the book.
The mirrors. Actually, maybe that is it.
Come
Hold
on,
let me write that down.
The world
because
from
I did not have a title for my book. And actually, when I said that, I'm like, oh, that's really good. Yeah, I need to write that down right now.
I should be a writer.
The world beyond the mirrors.
Yeah, I've always thought it was interesting. I never in my life, I never really put too much thought into mirrors, but here lately people have been, talking about it. And I'm like, I never even put an ounce of thought. Like I've always had mirrors. And here's something crazy too, right? So my brother-in-law bought this house in Ohio, and it's not really a basement, but I mean, I guess it could be a basement, but it's like in the back of the house, you walk directly out into the yard, but it's like a basement to the front of the house. I don't know. It's everything in this area. For those of you listening, there's no flat land. So you kind of build it the way you can build it. But when you walk, into his like basement area, there were mirrors everywhere after he bought this place. And I mean, some of them, they were like obviously not for people, like there would be like a mirror that's like 2 foot long or whatever. And it's like 8 foot up. It's like on the ceiling almost facing out. Like who's even looking at that, right?
Yeah.
But we found stuff like that all over his place. So.
Yeah, I would have been cleansing that place if I were him.
Creepy mirror stuff. Like, I don't know, is there like...
I mean, even if things can't come through the mirrors, I mean, mirrors do reflect, and so they can kind of enhance energy. So I feel like, like if you're arguing in a room or something, that energy can kind of bounce off and be reflected into the mirror and kind of almost be amplified.
Okay.
So even just from an energy standpoint, like, feng shui, they talk about mirrors as well. Like mirrors shouldn't be facing each other because it kind of bounces energy off of each other and just creates kind of like a chaotic feeling in the room. So yeah, just don't have your mirrors face each other.
Now, what if you got a broken mirror in your room? Is that other than a sign of bad luck?
Oh,
is that even worse?
I mean,
like the portal is open.
Break mirrors. I feel like that's just a safety issue too. Don't keep broken glass in your bedroom.
Yeah, well, lid for every pot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's belief too that if the mirror is broken, it's like things can more easily come through because it's broken. Other people think if it's broken, it's broken. So like that, if it is a portal, that portal's not going to work anymore because it was broken. So
I either
depends on who you ask.
I either fixed it or like screwed myself, right?
Yeah. Depends on how you look at it.
Flip a coin, right? Perspective. Now, how can folks get up with you? I know you said, hey, your listeners can help me with this one thing. What's the best way for them to get up with you?
So I'm pretty active on Instagram. It's ChariceWilliams.xo. They can also reach out to me on my website. I have like a contact me button on my website, so they can email me that way. My website is ChariceWilliams.com. But otherwise, Instagram. I'm also on Twitter and TikTok, but most active on Instagram. And Facebook.
So all the social medias, and you
all the socials.
You respond, to anybody if they got anything going on. You got an email address or anything you use?
They can do the email from my website.
Perfect. That makes it easy. So you're looking for stories like, hey, haunted bridges, haunted,
Mostly haunted mirrors. I mean, unless somebody has like a liminal space in the Midwest that they would love for me to go out and investigate, that'd be cool. Like if you have some haunted crossroads in your town or something, like let me know. But I'm specifically looking for the mirror stories. The mirror book is going to include kind of just folklore of mirrors, the psychology of mirrors, and then kind of sprinkled throughout is going to be people's personal stories involving mirrors.
That's really neat. Now how soon are you thinking of having that book out, or how far away are we from publishing anything?
It's not going to be until later in the year because the liminal space one, I am going to different liminal spaces and investigating, and so that will be included in the book. And there's places that I need to investigate throughout the year. So that one isn't going to be until very end of the year.
Okay.
The mirror one will just kind of be once I feel I have enough stories to include in it. So that one will probably be maybe like fall, autumn. Okay,
perfect. Definitely going to have you back on for that because as you can see, that whole thing kind of intrigues me. Like,
yes.
So after you've collected your encyclopedia of stories. I'm going to be picking your brain.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, and then in the meantime, you can get The Witch's Guide to Ghost Hunting, my book, on Amazon. But there is a section in there on scrying, which is, gazing into a mirror to connect to the paranormal world or to see the spirits. So there's a little section in my book that covers that.
Now, do you do that on investigations as well?
I have. I don't do it all the time, and I don't do it with everybody because it's not something that is for everybody. I will be talking about this in the book as well. The psychologist and we were talking a lot about it because there is like a psychological thing that can happen when staring into a mirror that isn't necessarily paranormal, and just some people, I don't know, they just really don't like it, and it really kind of makes them uneasy. So
now see, Charisse,
but yeah,
the thought of that almost like scares me more than anything else.
Right?
Like doing that because like, okay, like remember when you're kids, like go in there and like say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror.
Mary, yeah.
But like instead, let's take that mirror to a place where like 10 people were murdered. Right? Now let's do it.
Which I have.
Of course.
I have. It can be interesting. I feel like it's just kind of another way of connecting to the space and to the spirits, and also your own intuition. It's kind of a way, really, also of just calming your mind and like kind of really calming your mind and allowing yourself to connect to your subconscious. And I feel like our intuition and our subconscious are like best friends. And so when we can get ourselves into the state of mind to kind of connect to our subconscious, we can also more easily connect to our intuition as well. Yeah. I could talk about that a long time.
I didn't mean to laugh during like the whole intuition part, the calming. It was more like the calming of, hey, I'm going to do this really, really terrifying thing to calm down.
Well, just like with anything too, I mean, if you're feeling really nervous about it, then don't do it, because you do kind of project the energy that you're feeling. So if you go to gaze into this mirror and you're super freaked out and you think, Bloody Mary herself is going to come crawling through it, like you may see some really weird stuff, or, you may feel really messed up because you're kind of in that state of mind. But if you're gazing into the mirror and you're, comfortable and you're relaxed and you know that you're safe and everything, it's a much different experience.
Now, did you do this at Indiana State?
Did not, but
please do this in one of your
things.
Have
done it at one of our other locations that will be in an upcoming film.
Thank you. And then, like, as soon as that comes out, I want like a text or something like, "Hey, check it out now."
Yes, definitely.
Because like, and like while you're recording it though, you're gonna be like, "This is gonna make Jordan cry."
Pretty much. I don't know. I can try it. We're filming, like I said, this week just for you. I can bring a mirror to this location, or maybe they have a mirror. Oh, I'm sure they have a mirror at this location. Now that I'm thinking about the location, I'll do it at this location just for you, and I'll report back to you.
And please let me know how that goes.
Definitely.
I can either you type it out. I'll read it on the air for all y'all. I'll make sure. I will have her message to the masses is what we'll do.
I love it.
All right, so we can get your book on Amazon. We can follow you on all the socials. Now your name is spelled Cherise Williams. So make sure you spell that right, and that's a .com after that. And does it link to all your socials on there?
Yeah, it does.
One-stop shopping.
That's the best way to kind of keep your eye out for when our film is streaming, and then also Haunted Documentaries on YouTube. You can subscribe to that and for any updates and spooky content.
Now, before we go, how often do you do the Haunted Documentaries, like the YouTube aspect of it?
We just launched the channel like a week ago, so I think we have like 8 little clips up there, little videos right now. And Marlon and I get together like every couple of months to film a documentary. That's how it's worked out so far. And so we decided this time around, now that we have our YouTube channel, we're going to be specifically filming additional content just for YouTube. So
Perfect.
the YouTube channel is about to get very exciting.
So a lot of stuff in the works
really
right
cool
now for
content.
Haunted Documentaries. So look up Haunted Documentaries on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you subscribe, because, you know, what's the point of just watching one? It's like Pringles.
Exactly.
Once you pop, can't stop.
You can't stop.
All right. I do want to thank you very much for coming on the show. A lot of fun. It's a whole new perspective, you know, of investigations and things like that, which I appreciate. And I want to have you back on once your books come out, and that way, man, I'm really intrigued. Well, actually, you know, I'm not to say that I'm not intrigued with like the crossroads and the haunted bridges and things like that. Like, we're going to talk about that too, but there's just something about the mirrors that, you know, you never think about something until you think about it, and then now that's all you can think about.
Right?
I don't know if that came out right.
Past a mirror, you kind of do a second glance.
Yeah, like, did my face in the mirror turn the same time I did?
Right? I've 100% done that, by the way. Like, I'll like turn real quick to see if I'm like
still looking.
Turning at
Are you still watching?
Yeah.
Just like fake blink your eyes to see if your mirror blinks all the way.
Right?
You're like, gotcha.
Yeah, I do that.
I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Charisse, again.
Just cover your mirror, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm always gonna be like, what are you doing? What did she tell you?
Don't worry about it. Just cover the mirrors. We'll be safe.
Put them all outside.
But don't break them.
Oh, goodness. All right, Charisse, thank you so much. That is all the time we got for today. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm definitely going to have you back with us, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you later.
All right, bye. And
with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, Charisse, for joining us on the show. If you haven't connected with me yet online, make sure you do so. Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook. We got a lot of past guests. Charisse is actually a member of that group as well. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. On Twitter, it's at Fireside Parapod, Parapod. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to chat with you. Make sure you send me a message. I try to answer everybody who does message me, as long as you don't sound like spam. I mean, there's a lot of spam messages that are coming through, so as long as it doesn't seem like you're spamming me, I'll definitely reach out to you and have a good conversation about whatever you want to talk about. Ghosts, gremlins, goblins, and everything in between. Check out firesideparanormal.com for all the latest updates. Also, all of our sweet, sweet Fireside merch. Make sure you get that. There's sales that go on at least once a month for that website, and I think everybody deserves a Fireside Paranormal t-shirt. Don't you? That is all the time we have for today. Until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.